she rises, way, hey, and up she rises, way, hey, and up she rises, early in the morning. What will we do with the drunken sailor?
The Tea-Swigging-Pirate-Jones, Part 3. They lit a small fire, and Waltz boiled the water. If they weren't afraid now, they bloomin' well oughter. For 2 faint red pinpricks watched in the gloom, and the meddlin' pirates who's entered this room. If only they'd known, if they'd just been wise, they'd know these pinpricks of light were actually eyes. And if they'd seen these eyes and then looked beneath, they'd have seen billowing smoke and razor-sharp teeth. And what was below these fangs and great jaws? Something with scales and monstrous claws. It had a hideous head the size of a wagon, and all of these things belonged to a dragon. It let rip a flame as its breath caught alight, and Jones realized that things weren't all right. "Quickly, me hearties, what are you thinking? Put down your tea, this is no time for drinking." Put down your tea? He'd never said that before. It was clear to the others there must be trouble in store. They leapt to their feet, and in that thin shaft of light grabbed pistols and swords, and prepared for a fight. It spread its wings and opened its jaws, and flew into the air with a flourish of claws. It swooped and it snapped, then let out a huge roar, sending boulders and rocks crushing down to the floor. The pirates scrambled quickly over each other as they escaped falling boulders and rushed to take cover. Above their heads the dragon crashed all around, knocking holes in the roof and crushing rocks to the ground. Jones took a swig of strong tea from a silver hip flask, wiped the sweat from his brow, and got on with the task. He flourished his sword and fired off his pistol, which he'd brought at his favourite tea-shop in Bristol. The dragon lay dead, sprawled on the floor, and the pirates saw something they didn't see before. They looked on open-mouthed in fear, that's because the floor was alive with hundreds of rats. Pirates fight warriors and battle barbarians with bats. They'll take on monsters and dragons, but they can't stand rats. They were furry and buck-toothed, their tails pink and hairless. How could the pirates have been so careless? They backed away slowly as the rats closed in, and Banjo fell backwards with a terrible din. There were honks and whistles and a banging sound as he tumbled musically onto the ground. And the noise postponed their impending doom as the rats backed off into the gloom. The pirates looked at the objects strewn all over the floor. They'd found what they'd come hunting for. They'd found a hoard of treasures untold, with strange objects made of silver and gold. There were 2 metal discs which came together with a clang, and another which was round and made a really good bang. There were tubes you could blow, which made a whistling sound, and one that was missing, the golden string that they'd found. Banjo took the strange object and tied on the string, and he plucked it. There came music that was fit for a king. What was the strange object, the pirates didn't know, so they named it after its founder. They called it Banjo. The scratching and squeaking sound had returned, and if there was the thing these pirates had learned, this noise meant that the rats were back, and this time they had pirates to attack. For some reason, and he didn't know why, perhaps it was knowing that they might be about to die, Jones reached into his shoe and pulled out the flute, put it up to his lips, and gave it a toot. It glimmered and shimmered, then started to bend, and beautiful music came out of one end.